This will be the solution of your number 10 practice problem. This is in week 3. So a man dropped a stone into a well. 4 seconds later, the sound of water splash is heard. Assuming that the speed of sound is 330 meters per second, determine how deep is the well. So how deep is the well? Okay. Yung first solution natin is that we would use our free body diagram in order to understand more the problem. So let's say that I will have this well. Okay, this will be our well. And then it has simple water sa loob. And then you are asked to solve for the depth of the well. So which means that you have this uh distance or displacement or whatsoever. So take note, parehas lang yan ngayon. So this will be your S well. And then the man drop a stone. So therefore, let's have a man. Okay? Let's say that the man will drop the stone at the tip of the well. So considering this particle, so he will drop the stone to the tip of the well. Let this let this be considered as free fall, wherein our Vi is equal to 0 and our acceleration is equal to the acceleration of gravity, which is 9.81 meters per second square. After he dropped the stone to the well, 4 seconds later, the sound of the water splash is heard. So 4 seconds later, according to the problem, the sound of the splash of the water is heard. So after he dropped that, so may nag-bounce back na sound to the man, which is basically, let's say this will be your S sound. But based on the diagram, we will see that the displacement or the time traveled by the sound is equal to the distance traveled, or the displacement of the sound is equal to the displacement of the well or the depth of the well. Parehas lang sila. So depth of the well, S well is equal to depth of the well. Then after knowing they are equal, next is to determine the two time interval. So take note that after 4 seconds, narinig ng tao yung splash ng water. So therefore, there are two time interval that you would consider. So you will consider your T1. This will be your first time interval. So T1, which is the time interval from man to the water. Okay? Time interval from man to water. So that is our T1. Which means that pagkabagsak niya nung VI, so this will be our T1. Babagsak yung VI niya, yung stone natin, which VI equals to 0, hanggang sa tubig. Okay? So that will be our T1. And then, after that, may T2 tayo. So take note that our T2 will be this time interval. So your T2 will be the time the sound travel. the time the sound travel from water, okay, from the water or the splash of the water to the man. Okay, so adding these two, we will have the time interval which is equal to 4 seconds. So T1 plus T2 is equal to your 4 seconds. The time that the man heard the splash. Take note that the 4 seconds is the total time traveled by the ball to the water, and the time the sound travels to the man that would hear the splash. So therefore 4 seconds. Next thing is that it was also defined that we will use the speed of sound in your splash. So take note that Vs or V sound is equal to 330 meters per second, and this is a constant velocity like light. So it is not affected by gravity. So since this is a constant velocity, therefore our acceleration is 0. Okay? So if this 330 meters per second is not given, use 343 meters per second. If not given to. But since the problem requires us to use this 330 meters per second, therefore, we would use this. Okay? So let us solve for the problem by first is solving for your T1 and T2 by identifying your S. What is our S? Well, so take note that our S well is equal to this VIT plus 1 half AT squared. So at first time interval or your T1. So therefore, based on this one, my T is equal to T1 and my VI is equal to 0 and my A is equal to my 9.81 meter per second squared. So therefore, my S well is equal to VIT, which is 0 plus 1 half multiplied by 9.81 meters per second squared multiplied by our T squared. So take note that our T will be T1. So S well will be equal to 1 half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by our T1 squared. This is our S well. Let this be your equation 1. Okay. Next is that you would use the second displacement or your S sound. So at second time interval, at second time interval or your S sound, wherein your T is equal to your T2. So probably we'll have S sound is equal to VIT plus 1 half AT squared. Take note that since this is your sound, so your VI is equal to VF, which is equal to your VS, which is equal to 330 meters per second, which was denoted a while ago. So since your VI is equal to your VF here, at time interval 2, so wala tayong acceleration, so 0 yan, so therefore our S sound is equal to 330 multiplied by our T2, which is equal to your S sound. This will be our equation 2. But we all know that I have defined that your S sound, or the displacement of your sound of your splash to the man is S sound and S well are equal. So therefore, pwede mo lang isubtract yan kasi equal nil sila, magka-cancel yung dalawang S well, and then you will have a value equal to T1 less T2. Okay? Or T1 is equal to T2. But probably, so let us use your substitution method in solving these two equations to unknown. So S well is equal to your S sound, which means that I will substitute these variables or this function of your S well and the function of your S sound. So we have 1 half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by your T1 squared, which is equal to our S sound, which is equal to 330 multiplied by T2. Okay? This is our equation. So, third equation natin yan. What would be your next solution? So, two equations sa unknown tayo. Note that you cannot directly use your calculator because of this quadratic equation, T1 squared. So, hindi yan pwede. So, the best thing to do is to find the value of your T1 or your T2. Kasi nga, hindi na tayo mag-square yan. So, T2 na lang. So, solving for T2, we all know that T2 is equal to 4 less T1. Okay? So, alam na natin that T2 is equal to 4 less T1. So, let us substitute this one to this equation. Substitute lang natin dito. Okay? So, we'll have then a value equal to 1 half multiplied by 9.81 is negative, is positive 4.905. So, T1 squared, which is equal to 330 multiplied by T2, wherein our T2 is equal to 4 less T1. So, ito yan. 4 less T1. So, T2, 4 less T1. So, considering this one, so we will have a value equal to 4.905 T1 squared, which is equal to 330 multiplied by 4 is equal to 1320 less 330 T1. So, this is a quadratic equation. So, it's up to you if you would use the quadratic formula or directly use your calculator. So, pwede nyo gamitin yung quadratic formula nyo or factoring method. That will be another options. So, 0 equals negative 4.905 T1 squared plus less 330 T1 plus 1320. So, this will be our third equation that you can be input or that you can input your calculator. So, how will you input this? So, if you are using your 9 and ES, so mode 5, and then hanapin nyo yung AX plus AX squared plus BX plus Y plus C equals 0. So, that is mode 5.3. And then, you would input this negative 4.905, negative 330, and then 1320 in an order of X squared, X, and C. So, take note that your X will be denoted as your T1 squared and your X will be T1. Okay? And then your C is your constant, which is 1320. So, bakit natin kailangan gawin pa ganyan yung tsura na? Because it is a requirement of your calculator that you would transpose your C into the sides of your equation. So, isang side lang dapat yung equation nyo equals 0. So, equals ka na lang dyan. Okay? So, we'll have a value equal to your x1 or your t1 is 3 3.785 seconds. 3.78685 seconds, or approximately equal to 3.79 seconds. And then this is your T1 at T1 sub 1 and T1 sub 2, kasi nga pag may quadratic equation, di ba? Positive, negative, square root of something. Okay? And negative 71. Probably walang negative na time, so therefore you will cross this out. So let us use this time for your T1. So finding for the time T2, so therefore we may say that T2 is equal to 4 less T1, but where T1 was defined as 3.79. So T1 is equal to 3.79. So therefore our T2 is equal to 4 less 3.79 is 0.21. Okay, 0.21 seconds. So solving for S sound or S sound, substituting the value of your T2. So mas madali kasi pag T2 yung ginamit natin, no? Double S lang silang sagot. Okay, solving for S sound, take note that our T2 was 0.21. So therefore, we'll have a value equal to S sound is equal to 330 multiplied by 0.21 seconds. So meters per second yan. So makikita mo that it is equal to 69.3 meters. Okay? That would be our answer for S. So, pwede natin gamitin yung calculator ko pag hindi nyo pa naintindihan yung mode 5 natin. So, itong sinasabi kong mode 5. Engineering. Ito. Mode 5, ito yung makikita nyo. So, ax squared plus bx plus c. So, take note that in our first ax is we have negative 4.905. So, equals yan. And then, next is we have negative 330. And we have positive 1320. Okay? So, pag in-equals mo sa calculator mo, mapapansin mo that you will have this value 3.786 or 3.79 and this negative. So, take note, this negative is not useful because it is time, so walang negative sa time. So, another option is that we will use your shift solve. Okay? So, lalagay mo lang dyan is 1/2 multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by your T1 squared as x, so alpha x. So, alpha calc, the value of your V1, which is equal to, Vs, which is equal to 330. So, multiplied by 4 less alpha x. Okay? So, take note that yung x natin is T1 and your x here is also equal to T1. So, mapapansin mo, pag nag-shift solve ka, so we'll have a value equal to, okay, so alpha x squared pala to. So, alpha x squared, so delete alpha x squared. Yeah. Okay, so 1/2 9.81. So, yung formula na yan is from this one Yes. Ito, directly ni-input natin siya. Kaya pansin mo yung T1 natin, pinalitan lang natin ng X dyan. Okay? So, balik tayo doon. So, shift solve tayo. So, if you have 999 VS, so which is synonymous with this application, so shift solve. Okay? It will find for the value of X. So, what falls siya? So, 1 half multiplied by 9.81 alpha x squared. So, alpha calc 330 multiplied by 4 less x. So, meron dapat yan. Which is 3.78. So, hindi siya masolve ng calculator na to. Okay. So, shift solve. Okay. This will be the value. So, in-edit natin. Yung nag-edit siya mag-isa. So, 1 half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by x squared. So, 330 multiplied by, ayun. Parehas lang naman sila, di ba? But particularly in-edit niya. So, this will be the values of your x. Shift solve. So, pwede lang mag-shift solve. So, mapapansin nyo, sa calculator nyo, isa lang yung magpapakita, which is 3.78. So, pag gusto nyo makita yung isa, mag-input kayo ng equal sign. And then, mag-input kayo ng kahit anong value. 5, let's say 5 or 6. So, 56. So, you will have 3.78 pa rin. So, kunin natin yung negative niya. Negative 5. Okay. Oh, pag nag-input ka ng negative 69, pag nag-shift solve ka, di ba? LR. Press equals and then press a number that is, let's say, negative number para makuha mo yung negative 71.065. But particularly, this negative 71.065 is not needed when you are talking about time. So, always positive yan, which is 3.78 seconds. Okay? That would be the calculator method of this one. So, therefore, as I have said, we have solved for the value of time, which is 3.79 seconds. The next thing to do is to solve for the value of T2. So, kinuha yung T2 natin dito, which is 0.21 seconds. And then after that, since our S well is equal to our S sum, so, pag nag-substitute ka ng 0.21 sa 330 mo, therefore, you will have a value equal to 69.3 meters. You may also use your T1, but you would substitute it here. So, pag ginamit mo yung T1 mo, so, using T1, our S well is equal to 1 half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by our T1 squared, which is basically equal to your 3.79 squared. So, we have 1 half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by 3.79 squared will have a value equal to 3.78 squared. So, 70.08 meters. But approximately, dapat equal yan. So, your S well must be equal to your S sound. By how? Siguro nagkatalo lang sa rounding of numbers. But if you would use the unround number, it would be proven that your S sound is equal to your S well.